If I was going to take a chance, this was the time to take the chance.
So I want to kind of transition to the first company. So up until this point, you were a good Indian son. You had gone to school, did chemical engineering, got a job, and now you got your PhD and you're finishing up the program. And then you come up with this crazy idea. Hey, the big pharma guys, they don't know what they're talking about. Let me go see if I can go start my own company. So walk me through this. This is a very different perspective of reality, but at the same time, it's still another experiment, right? Where you're measuring the risk from that standpoint. But all of us who've been entrepreneurs, we're kind of naive. We're like, we can do it. This is the main problem. Let's go figure it out. So walk us kind of through that transition of you're in the academic world, things are kind of safe. You had a $5 million grant. And there is some translation to that in what you've done in the future. But you go from this safe environment in a nice ivory tower at Georgia Tech with a lot of funding to, hey, let's go start a company. Walk us through that complete change of perspective.
Yeah, and it was a tougher decision than I thought. It was easy when I had no other option. So I graduated, and the thought was I would get a job or do this, and I was gung ho about it until I actually had a job offer. So some big company offered me a job with. I was pitching the product to them, trying to get them to see if they would be interested in licensing it, and then me working at it within the company. So staying safe, somebody paying me to do this now. Instead, they said, we don't want the technology. That we'll have to separate out, but we'll give you an offer for a job. And then I had a real choice to make, which was, do I take this risky thing of starting the company, or do I take, again, the safe bet? You can probably tell what my parents did, which was say, take the job again, even more money than before. And, but in the end, I took the risky thing because I knew that if I walked away from this and I didn't know the potential of this, I would regret it. And if I was going to take a chance, this was the time to take the chance. And so I rolled the dice, but because I had to make that choice, I made a very conscientious decision as to how I was going to go about it. One, I had to get everyone that was involved to agree that I was going to make the decision about how to do this. And that meant I had to talk to both of my advisors, much senior than me, more well known in these fields than I am, to agree to let me run the company, right? And that decision forced me to see it that way. Because I said, if you're not going to do that, then I'm going to walk away from this, because that means I have no control over this. And I know their personalities. They're busy with their academic worlds. They're not going to make decisions in a timely manner. And we're not going to move this forward because they're not leaving their jobs. That's their world. Um, and so I had to get them on board. And then I had to get comfortable around, how do we move this quick enough that I can see some progress? Because I knew what was coming, what other people were trying to do. And I knew the tool that we were developing had to coincide with the timelines of those products that other people were working on. Otherwise, we'd be too late to offer a real solution. And so the first task we did was to build the right team, get agreement from the existing folks, bring in the right business folks to help us generate the right approach and raise the money. And so we managed to do that within a year, and sort of de-risk that portion, and then get enough funding to get to the first major milestone.
So Clearside, as a biotech company, it's not like a bioengineering company or a traditional pharmaceutical company. And I don't know if everybody really understands this. So it would be good to kind of give context because honestly, having done a biotech investment in the late 90s and early 2000s, worst types of investments that I could probably get into, mainly because it's a binary function. Either it works or you lose all your money. And the thing is, you need infinite money to get a lot of these ideas off the ground. And I think in pharmaceuticals, I remember the good old days when it only cost $800 million to get a new drug off the ground. Now it's billions to get a new drug off the ground. And there's so much at stake. And those are very well funded large corporations. To get a startup, maybe give us some contrast, because I know it's very different from a device standpoint
Right.
versus pharmaceutical drug or tissue, or there's classifications there. So give us kind of like the pros and cons and the differences between the two, so we can understand what's at stake and the differences.
So the typical pharma or biotech model is usually you have a drug, and the drug is the key piece of the action. So the drug is going to do much of the work, and the delivery is your standard delivery. You inject it or you take it as a pill, um, and so you're not really innovating there. The real risk is, does the molecule do the job what its intended target is supposed to do? And all your experiments are based on that design. You're basically de-risking two things: safety and efficacy. And those are the two things you're looking for. In the world that I come from, which is looking at it from a drug delivery perspective, the company that we started, Clearside, was not going to do that for its first product. My goal was, I'm not going to take the risk on the molecule, because the delivery tool is the risky thing that I'm not going to try to have two variables that I have to optimize around. If I want to introduce the delivery tool, I need to pair it with a drug that I have a lot of confidence in. Okay. So I said the strategy for this company is going to be to take a known drug that we know works, has some problems somewhere else, and we can make it better and give a treatment that is better by using the delivery tool. And if we do that, the risk on the molecule and the drug drops significantly. And that's usually the highest risk. The delivery tool is an engineering problem. And we got a bunch of engineers. We can figure this out. And if we look at the right patient population and we address the right market, we can get this product quickly to show that the delivery tool makes sense. And then we can have a collection of drugs that we can go use, more riskier drugs, and build a platform that you can build a pipeline of products within the company with. And that's the approach we took. So we took a risk on the engineering, not the risk on the biology side. And that's how it played out, fortunately. And this was spelled out well before we even started the company. The experiments that we did at the university looked at that particular type of drug. We showed that it could work, did all those kinds of things. So we had sort of de-risked that portion, and that was the basis for the strategy of the company.